It goes in stages, my whole relationship to music, because it first starts when I'm writing. And I get asked a lot, like, what's my process in writing? And I tell people that, you really got to give yourself a good 2 weeks of filling the well, as I call it, which means depending on what movie you're writing, I tell people, well, find about 5 to 10 movies that you think are at least in the spirit of kind of the movie you want to attempt to do. So, if I just recently wrote a movie about truckers, and so I was watching all these kind of like iconic trucker movies like Smokey and the Bandit and Duel and Convoy, and it just kind of gets you into a mood. You begin analyzing it. So I turn on the counter on my VCR on my PlayStation, and I can see where things happened in minutes wise on the movie, and the same thing for music. So I go on iTunes and I just start making myself a playlist of the movie that I'm working on. Well, for Footloose, not only did I have the original soundtrack, but I started throwing in music that I thought would be part of the Footloose that I would make. So I put the White Stripes in there. I put Big and Rich in there. And, for me, it gave me a sense of tonally the kind of movie I wanted to do. So when I start out making a movie, I kind of have an idea. I have an idea of where I'm going to go, like what songs I need to lock in, where I will have no flexibility. Like I can't change my mind on the angry dance that we set to the White Stripes song, Catch Hell Blues, because we choreographed to it. So there's some things that I have to make an early decision on, and later, I can make a decision on a different type of song. But music is very important in my films, and I would say it starts at the creative process. Like it really begins with the idea, for the script. Well, I think I've been lucky because I don't think that the studio that I've really only worked with Paramount. Paramount bought Hustle and Flow. Paramount Classics Paramount Vantage made Black Snake Moan, and Paramount is doing Footloose. And I think that really in my situation, it wasn't like the studio was telling me to do something that I didn't want to do. If anything, they were saying, we encourage you to please be yourself. And I don't want to assume that that's a rare thing in Hollywood, but it definitely goes against what I think as just like an independent filmmaker, just making movies with video cameras and dreaming of the big time. You kind of have this idea that once you start making a studio movie, that's when you start compromising. It's not as true as we would like to believe it is, because that's kind of the fuel for our fire when we're out there with our, sweating our ass off in the field and trying to make our indie movies. We want to believe that when you go up to the studios that it's like, oh, well, all they want to do is their ideas, and to hell with your creativity. It's the opposite. And that's what I really tell a lot of filmmakers. It's like, please lock into your signature as soon as you can, because that's what studios will be going to when they have a project. They're like, no, we don't want this kind of a film, so we're not going to get the following kinds of directors. We want this kind of film, so that means it's these kinds of directors. I don't know if that makes sense, but to some extent, the studio is depending on you being yourself.